Hi everybody, and welcome to today's Chinese Pod lesson. My name is Joe.
大家好，我是庆林，欢迎来到中文播客。今天我们去餐厅。
Yeah, today we are going to a restaurant, and this is of course important because you need to survive in a foreign country, but generally the topic of food and beverages and meals is very important to Chinese people. And you may know that when you listen to Chinese people like greeting each other, because instead of saying something like how do you do, how are you, some people might just ask you,
你吃了没？
Have you eaten? So that makes up a greeting. Have you eaten? Yes, I have. Okay. And in the dialogue, you will hear the words for drinks or soft drinks,
饮料、
and menu.
菜单。
Okay, so let's check out the dialogue.
请问有什么饮料？
有乌龙茶，
来一杯。有菜单吗？
有的，稍等一会儿。
请问有什么饮料？
有乌龙茶，
来一杯。有菜单吗？
有的，稍等一会儿。
请问有什么饮料？
有乌龙茶，
来一杯。有菜单吗？
有的，稍等一会儿。
Now that you've heard the dialogue, let's break it down line by line.
请问有什么饮料？
Excuse me, what kind of drinks do you have?
请问有什么饮料？
Excuse me, what kind of drinks do you have?
请问有什么饮料？有乌龙茶。
We have oolong tea.
有乌龙茶。
We have oolong tea.
有乌龙茶。来一杯。有菜单吗？
I'll get one. Do you have a menu?
来一杯。有菜单吗？
I'll get one. Do you have a menu?
来一杯。有菜单吗？有的。稍等一会儿。
Yes, we do. Wait a moment, please.
有的。稍等一会儿。
Yes, we do. Wait a moment, please.
有的。稍等一会儿。
Okay, since the whole dialogue is revolving around the verb 有, which is to have something, let's shortly talk about how to use this in Chinese and how to build a sentence and a questions with this. So normally we would just say, as in English, just say a subject, verb, and then an object. So I could say I have something. This would become 我有, and then you add what you have. And if you want to ask a question, it's basically the same structure, but you add a question particle in the end, which is 嘛. Okay, so remember we are in the restaurant, so I could, for example, ask you a question like, do you have water?
哦，我们有水。
Or whether there's a bathroom. 你们有洗手间吗？
我们有洗手间。
So this is like an easy way to use the verb 有 to ask questions and to answer those. So let's look how it's used in the dialogue.
请问有什么饮料？
So here the word to have is used in a question, but we do not have a question particle as we had before. We don't have this ma here. We have another question word, but we'll get to that. So let's look at this to have here. We have the first, of course, to have.
有。有。
And this is followed by the question word what.
什么？什么？
And then it's drinks or soft drinks.
饮料。饮料。
And this together becomes then something like to have what drinks. So what drinks do you have? And this is simply introduced by a polite way of asking or saying excuse me in Chinese, which is
请问。
and together it is
请问有什么饮料？
And the answer then follows the same structure we just mentioned. So it's simply to have and then the thing you have, the object.
有乌龙茶。
so they do have oolong tea. So they have oolong tea, but they probably have other drinks as well, right? So how would you say that?
有可乐，
So they have Coke,
有咖啡，
coffee,
有啤酒，
beer,
有果汁。
and juice. So let's assume I'm interested in hearing what other juices or what kind of juices and what kind of beers you have. Can I just use the first question we had and just ask you 有什么 and then the 果汁 and 啤酒?
当然，请问有什么啤酒？
What kind of beer do you have?
请问有什么果汁？
What juice do you have? So the customer then settles down for this 1 cup of tea, and how does he order it?
来一杯，
Which is just the verb to come,
来
then 1
一
and a cup.
杯，
So together it's
来一杯。
like 1 cup come, make 1 cup come or something like this. And here you have to see that in Chinese we always use measurement words whenever we count things. So that's this 1 cup here. In English they're optional sometimes, but in Chinese we always have to use them when we count. So tea would normally come with a cup.
一杯茶，
But of course, if I order other things like a beer or something, I could have a bottle or something else. So I could have a cup as well, a cup of beer.
一杯啤酒，
Or a bottle.
一瓶啤酒，
And, oh wait, there was another one. 一桶.
一桶，太多了。
I'm speaking about a small keg, not like a big barrel kind of keg, like it's just a small one.
OK，
Okay, the customer, he said tea only, so 1 cup of tea, and then he asked in addition for the menu. And here he uses the same structure as we had before with this to have something. What did he say?
有菜单吗？
So here we have the word for menu, which in Chinese is made up of the 2 words for dish and list.
菜单，菜单，
And of course, you should know as well how to ask for an English menu. So how would we ask the question, do you have an English menu?
有英文菜单吗？
And to the question for the menu, the waiter then just says,
有的，
which is a short version of the sentence.
我们有菜单。
So in Chinese, similar actually to English, you normally, when you answer a question, you don't have to repeat the whole question. So in English, we would say, yes, we do. And in Chinese, we just say the verb, and that's it, basically.
有的，
And the de here is used to express, like, it's a particle that we use in the end of sentences or short statements to express certainty or emphasis. And then the waiter asked the customer to wait for a second in the end.
稍等一会儿。
The waiter then here uses a more polite form of the verb to wait, which is made up of the verb to wait itself plus a bit in front.
稍等，稍等，
Okay, and after this to wait, he uses 一会儿, which is a
一会儿。
moment. 一会儿.
一会儿，
Oh yeah, there is pronunciation differences here, because in terms of textbook correctness, the correct pronunciation of this should be
一会儿，
一会儿. For those of you that may have wondered, hey, where are all the subjects in all these sentences in a dialogue? I have to tell you that in Chinese, whenever the subject, like I, you, when it's clear from the context, we don't have to say it in Chinese. So with that in mind, let's check out the dialogue again.
请问有什么饮料？
有乌龙茶，
来一杯。有菜单吗？
有的，稍等一会儿。
请问有什么饮料？
有乌龙茶，
来一杯。有菜单吗？
有的，稍等一会儿。
请问有什么饮料？
有乌龙茶，
来一杯。有菜单吗？
有的，稍等一会儿。
So today we have discussed many things about ordering drinks in a restaurant, and you have learned how to ask for what kind of drinks there are in a restaurant, and to ask for an English menu, and maybe even more important, how to order 1 keg of beer.
老板，来一桶啤酒。
So if you have more questions or need to know some measurement words for the things you want to say, just let us know in the comments below. This is Joe.
我是庆林，下次见，
Bye bye.
拜。
Now, here's a vocabulary recap.
饮料，
Beverage.
乌龙茶，
Oolong tea.
一杯，
1 cup.
菜单，
Menu.
有的，
We do have.
稍等。
Wait.
Chinese pot.